Hi friends, my name is Nandita. I am from Andhra Pradesh.
Now let us discuss about the inflorescence. The arrangement and distribution of flowers over a plant is called inflorescence. The inflorescence can be followed as three types. Race mouse inflorescence. In race mouse type of inflorescence, the main axis continues to grow and the flowers are born laterally in an acropetal sections. Older flowers are found towards the base and younger ones at the end, means centripetal, older towards periphery and youngs towards center. Skymos inflorescence. In a skymos inflorescence, the tip of the main axis terminates in a flower and further growth continues by one or more lateral branches, which also behave like the main axis. The arrangement of flowers in either basipetal means younger flowers occupy basal portion while the older flowers towards the apex, and centrifugal means the older towards the center and younger towards the periphery. Special inflorescence. It mainly involves highly modified and densely crowded inflorescence. The special type of inflorescence can be divided into following types. Gynoecium. It is highly reduced and it is cup-shaped involucre of 5 bracts having nectariferous glands. A single large female flower is present in the center of the cup and scropioid male flowers surrounded this female flower. Every male flower is represented by a single stalk stamen brown in the axil of a scaly bract. Examples of this are euphorbia. Verticillester. These are two clusters, each having 3 to 9 flowers that develop on a node in the axil of opposite leaves. Examples of these are basil. Hypanthodium. In this type, the main axis is condensed into a cup or flask-shaped fleshy receptacle. It bears 3 kinds of flowers, that is male flowers towards the pore, female flowers towards the base, and neutral flowers occurring in between male and female flowers. Examples of these are peepal plant and banyan plant, etc. Now let us discuss about flower. Flower. The flower is a reproductive unit in angiosperms. It is meant for sexual reproduction. Morphologically, it is considered as a shoot bearing nodes and modified floral leaves. A flower is called as modified shoot because the position of the buds of both flower and shoot, which is same and can be in terminal or axillary in position. Structure of flower. A flower arises in an axil of a leaf-like structure called bract. Flowers with bracts are called bractate, and those without bracts are called ebractate. The terminal part of the axis of a flower is the receptacle or thalamus. The receptacle contains sepals, petals, stamens, and carpels. If the leaves are present on the pedicel, they are called bracteoles. Now let us discuss the parts of a flower. A typical flower consists of 4 distinctive parts, that are calyx, corolla, androecium and the gynoecium. The calyx or corolla are accessory parts and the androecium and gynoecium are the essential parts. These essential parts consist of 2 kinds of male sporophylous and microsporophylous and megasporophylous females. A flower can be unisexual or bisexual. It is born or short or long axis. The axis contains 2 regions, the pedicel and the thalamus or receptacle. The pedicel may be short, long, even absent. The thalamus is swollen end of the axis on which the flora whorls are arranged. Let us discuss the different parts of the flowers and are given below. Peduncle. Peduncle is the stalk of the flower. Receptacle. Receptacle is the part of a flower which the stalk is attached to. It is small and found at the center of the base of the flower. Calyx. Calyx. It is the outermost whorl of a flower. It is made up of units like sepals. The sepals are generally green like and protect the flower in the bud stage, that is when floral in bud condition. They have veins and stomata like ordinary leaves but are thicker in nature. The sepals may be gamosepalous, examples caesalpinia, or polysepalous, example sepals free. Crotalaria. The sepals also prevent transpiration from inner parts of the flower. Colored sepals attract insects for pollination. The main function of the calyx is to protect the flower when the flower is in initial stage. Corolla. Corolla. It is composed of petals. The petals are usually brightly colored to attract insects for pollination. Like calyx, corolla may also be gamopetalones, means petals united, or polypetalones, free petals, etc. The shape and color of corolla may vary greatly in shape. Corolla may be tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped, etc. Let us discuss about estivation, mode of arrangement of sepals or petals in flora bud with respect to the other members of the same role is known as estivation. This estivation pattern is important in classification of plants. It has the following type. Valvate petals. Valvate petals come to each other but do not overlap. Examples mustard flower, etc. Twisted. Regular overlapping or petals occur in which margin of one petal overlap with the next one petal. This is called twisted petals. Examples of this are China rose, hibiscus flower, etc. Imbricate petals. These are 5 petals arranged in such a way that one petal is completely external and other petals is completely internal, while the 3 petals are partially external or internal. Example, caesalpinia, etc. Vexillary petals. When the large petals overlaps the 2 lateral petals, which in turn overlap the 2 smallest anterior petals, then the investigation is called as vexillary petals or papilionoceous. Now let us discuss about androecium. It is the third whorl of flower composed of stamens or microsporangium. These are the male parts of flower. Many stamens are collectively known as androecium. Each stamen represents the male reproductive organ, consists of stalk, filament and anther. Filament. The part that is long and cylinder and attached to the anther of the flower. Anther is the head of the stamen and it is responsible for producing the pollen grains which is transferred to the pistil for female parts of the same flower or the another flower to bring about fertilization. Each anther is usually bilobed with or attached at the back by a sterile band called connective, and each lobe has 2 chambers that are pollen sacs. The pollen grains are produced in pollen sacs. A sterile stamen is called staminode. The stamens can be different types depending on their union with other members such as petals or among themselves. Stamens are generally divided into the following groups. When the stamens are attached to the petals, there are epitaph petalous. Examples like brinjal. When the stamens are attached to the perianth, this condition is called epiphylosis. Example, lily. The stamens in a flower may either remain free, and these are called as polyandrous, or may be united in varying degrees. When the stamens may be united into one bunch or one bundle, that is monodelphosis. Examples in China rose. It may be two bundles, that is dadylophus as in pea, or into more than two bundles in citrus. Now let us discuss about gynoecium. The gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower, and it is made up of one or more carpels or megasporangium. The megaspores are produced within the megasporangium. A carpel consists of three parts, that is stigma, style and ovary. The stigma is usually at the tip of style, and it is respective surface of pollen grains. An ovary enlarged basal part on which lies the elongated tube, the style. The style connects the ovary to stigma, which ovary bears one or more ovules attached to the flattened cushion-like placenta. Depending on the number of carpels present may be free or united. Gynoecium can be following types. Apocarpous gynoecium. When one or more carpel is present, they may be free or called apocarpous. Example, lotus or rose. Cynocarpous gynoecium. When carpels are fused together, the gynoecium is called cynocarpous. Examples, brinjal and hibiscus. The cavity enclosed by the ovary wall is called locule. The number of locules in the ovary correspondent to the number of carpels in the gynoecium, that is unilocular. Examples, P. Biloculars means two locules. Examples we can see in potato flower. Trilocular, examples we can see in ricinus flower. And many loculars we can see orange and lemon. The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. The placentation is a tissue which develops along the inner wall of the ovary. The ovules or ovary remains attached to the placenta. Placentation can be described as the following types: marginal placentation, axial placentation, parietal placentation, free central placentation, basal placentation. Marginal placentation. The placenta forms a ride along with the ventral structure of the ovary, and the ovules are borne on this ride, forming two rows is called marginal placentation. Examples, P. Axial placentation. When the placenta is axial and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary, the placenta is called axial placentation. And we can see this type of placentation in China rose, tomato flower and lemon flower, etc. Parietal placentation. When the ovules develops on the inner wall of the ovary on peripheral part, it is called parietal placentation. Ovary is one chambered, but it becomes two chambers due to the formation of false septum. Examples we can see in mustard plants and argemony. Free central placentation. When the ovules are borne on central axis and the septa are absent, the placentation is called free central placentation. Example we can see in dianthus and primrose flowers, etc. Basal placentation. In this type, the placenta develops at the base of ovary and a single ovule is attached to it as in sunflower, marigold, etc. The placenta develops directly on the thalamus. Now let us discuss the insertion of floral parts like forms of thalamus. The positions of different roles of flowers are different. This is due to the position of ovary. These positions may be of three types. One is hypogynous flower. In these flowers, the thalamus is conical, dome-shaped or flat. The ovary is present at the top of thalamus. The stamen, petals and sepals are separate and successfully inserted below the ovary. The ovary is superior, whereas the rest of the structures are inferior. Examples of these are hibiscus, petunia, etc. Perigynous flower. In these flowers, the margin of thalamus grows upwards, forming a cup-like structure called Calyx tube. The Calyx tube encloses ovary but remains free from it and the sepals, petals and stamens present in it. The ovary is half inferior, example rose, plum, peach, etc. Epigynous flower. In epigynous flowers, the thalamus grows upwards to completely develop the ovary and also fused inseparably with the latter. The other floral parts are bound at the top of fused thalamus and ovary. The ovary is called inferior, example sunflower, pumpkin flower, apple, etc. Now let us discuss the number of floral parts. When the floral appendages are in the multiple of 3, 4 or 5, the flower is considered as trimerous, tetramerous, pentamerous respectively. Dicotyledonous flowers are usually the tetramerous, pentamerous, while the monocotyledonous flowers comes under trimerous. Systemetry of a flower. The systemetry of a flower depends upon the shape, size and arrangement of floral parts like Calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, etc. The flowers can be ectomorphic or zygomorphic on the basis of symmetry. Actinomorphic. In this type, a flower can be divided into exactly equal halves by any vertical section passing through the center of a flower. Examples of these flowers are mustard and datura. Zygomorphic. In this type of flower can be divided into two identical halves through only one particular vertical plane. Example, ocimum, cassia, etc. Now let us discuss about fruit. The characteristic features of flowering plant is fruit. The fruit is a mature and ripened ovary developed after fertilization. During fertilization, the important changes takes place in the ovary or the ovules present. It develops into seeds. The wall of ovary thickens and ripens into pericarp, that is called a fruit wall. Thank you.